Oh, say.
Setting up your meeting on YouTube Live.
We are live, it says.
So it's recording right now, yes, on YouTube. Sure. Okay, it's copy.
Is there a delay between our meeting and it going on YouTube? It's live.
Recording right now, yes, on YouTube. Sure. Okay, it's copy.
Is there a delay between?
I don't know. Thought we were. Hang on. Maybe I hit the wrong. Jeez. Okay. Gotta record down here now. Going to the cloud. Is it recording? Where's it? Yeah. Okay. Very good. Okay, cool. All righty, we're ready to go.
Are we live?
Yep, we are live.
Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is a regular meeting of the Board of Trustees for Springfield Township, coming to you live by the use of live streaming on YouTube so that the public can watch the meetings and follow what we're doing as township trustees. Unfortunately, there's not public participation pursuant to the governor's orders and in conformity with safety due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But members of the public who wish to participate with some public comment can do so by submitting their comments to us as trustees. Here's the email that you should use if you have questions or you want to submit some comment. Please submit it by email to tedw@springfieldtownship.us. Mr. Weinsheimer is our administrator. He'll receive that and pass it on to us for answer or comment. It's tedw@springfieldtownship.us. Consistent with our rules, we'll address the comments at the next public meeting. As is our standard policy, we will begin this meeting with a Pledge of Allegiance. So Mr. DeLaura and members of staff, if you'll join me and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'm going to get right into the matters that we need to deal with, but Mr. Weinsheimer, do you want to call the roll so the record of the proceeding shows who's in attendance?
I'm going to have Ms. Price do that for us, and
Yes,
we'll take care of that.
Mrs. Price.
Roll call, Mrs. Davis, she's absent. Mr. Young?
Here.
Mr. DeLauro?
Here.
First of all, I would move to dispense with reading of minutes from prior meetings and approve the minutes to date.
Second.
Roll call, Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. DeLauro?
Yes.
Next, I move to approve payment of bills and payroll as prepared by our fiscal officer, subject to audit.
Second.
Roll call, Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. DeLauro?
Yes.
Next, I move to approve, that is to acknowledge receipt of our fiscal officer's September report, subject to audit.
Second.
Roll call, Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. DeLauro?
Yes.
Next, I'm going to move to adopt the attached resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined, that is, the tax rates as determined by the Summit County Budget Commission, and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the Summit County Fiscal Officer.
Second.
Roll call, Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mr. DeLauro.
Yes.
Next, I move to acknowledge receipt and acceptance of $522,914.69 to Fund Number 2272-519-0000, and to appropriate that same sum, $522,914.69, to Fund 2272 per the attached, which will become a part of the minutes to our meeting as Exhibit A to this item. And this is part of the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, otherwise known as CARES, funding. And I might note for the record that this particular sum and that particular fund item was to help fund safety services payroll, specifically in our police department.
Second.
Roll call, Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mr. DeLauro.
Yes.
Also part of the CARES Act, specifically the Coronavirus Relief, Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, I would move to establish the Coronavirus Relief Fund County Support 2273 and acknowledge receipt and acceptance of $414,441.66 to Fund Number 2273-519-0000, and to appropriate that same fund, $414,441.66, to Fund 2273 per the attached listing, which will be a part of our record as Exhibit B. This also is dedicated to payroll for the safety services in Springfield Township, specifically the fire department.
Second.
Roll call, Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mr. DeLauro.
Yes.
Next, I move to amend the certificate of estimated resources in the amount of $936,356.35 as prepared by the fiscal officer, and submit the same to Summit County Fiscal Office as attached. And I assume, Mr. Spicker, that that total sum is the total of these two figures in the prior actions?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I would second.
Roll call, Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mr. DeLauro.
Yes.
Next, I move to approve the transfer of funds per the attached, which will be found as Exhibit C in the minutes of this particular meeting, which will constitute the documentation of the expenditures under this special coronavirus fund. And I assume we're talking about both fund lines. Is that correct, Mr. Spicker?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Roll call, Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mr. DeLauro.
Yes.
Mr. DeLauro, you have some items to consider for the fire department, the police department, and I'll have an additional motion before we adjourn.
Okay. For the fire, I move to approve the fire department's participation in a fire investigation cooperative as outlined in the memorandum of understanding with communities of the city of Barberton, Greene, and New Franklin, the village of Lakemore, and the village of Mogador, and the Township of Coventry. The cooperating communities will provide personnel when available to work investigating fire cause and origin within the jurisdiction listed above, under the direction of the State of Ohio Fire Marshal Investigator.
I would second that motion.
Roll call, Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mr. DeLauro.
I move to approve the collective bargaining agreement with the Springfield Township.
Was that an affirmative? Was that an affirmative vote on the last motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
You froze for a moment there.
Oh,
Joe.
okay. Yes, yes. For the police, I move to approve the collective bargaining agreement with the Springfield Township Fraternal Order of Police per the attached document.
I'm going to second that with our thanks for the cooperation of our rank and file of the police department, including our sergeants group.
Roll call, Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mr. DeLauro.
Yes. I move to remove Officer Michael Roberts from the one-year full-time probation effective 10/21/2020.
I would note this is on the recommendation of our chief, and I would second the motion.
Roll call, Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mr. DeLauro.
Yes. I move to hire 3 part-time police officers with a one-year probation. Hunter Chapman, effective 10/17/20, Jennifer Deaton, effective 10/18/20, and Ty Clapp, effective 10/19/20, at an hourly rate of $18 per hour.
I would second that motion.
Roll call, Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mr. DeLauro.
Yes. I move to approve the application to apply for a JAG grant for 4 new dash cameras. Cameras cost approximately $5,000 each. Maximum award grant is $20,000. We would be responsible for a 10% match if awarded this grant.
I would second that.
Roll call, Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mr. DeLauro.
Yes. I move to certify the total cost for the abatement of the following property and to instruct the fiscal officer to forward to the Summit County Auditor the report of the township action regarding abatement for the total cost to be placed upon the tax duplicate as a lien upon the land. This property is 665 Neal Road, Akron, Ohio 44312, which is parcel 51-05844. Cost of $215.
I would second that.
Roll call, Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mr. DeLauro.
You froze again. Mr. DeLauro, you froze again.
So
Are you
Yes.
studying your answer?
I'm frozen?
There you
Yeah.
are. You're up now.
How do you
No, I'm
vote
just
on-
sitting here. Oh,
How do you vote on the motion? Though we're at distance, I thought I heard you vote yes.
yes,
Okay.
I did say yes. I said I was kicked out for a second.
Please record Mr. Delores' vote as yes.
I did.
Okay. Finally, as a matter involving our zoning department, I move to authorize trustee Joseph DeLauro to enter a purchase agreement on behalf of the Board of Trustees as a buyer to purchase the real property located at 1050 Mohawk Trail in Springfield Township, known as parcels 51-03167, 03168, and 03169 for the sum of $6,000, but conditioned upon obtaining marketable title, free and clear of all liens and encumbrances per the attached agreement form. That's my motion.
Second.
Roll
Second,
call, Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mr. DeLauro.
yes.
Is there any other matter that needs to be dealt with by the board at this meeting? Mr. DeLauro, do you think of anything?
No, I don't have anything.
Do we have any announcements at this juncture?
I have nothing from my side.
Okay, or from the fiscal office?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay. Our next meeting is, will not be until next month. Was there an announcement that we made relative to Halloween?
Yes, I believe we trick or treat is on Saturday, the, whatever day that is,
That will
30.
be-
let me look at my calendar.
That would act-
31st. Saturday, the 31st.
Okay,
On Halloween,
and the date, the time is what?
yes.
5 to 8?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, we defer to.
4 to 6. Yeah, the police usually tell us that, so.
Yeah. We just urge the parents to ask their children to abide by masking and social distance and to exercise some care parentally to supervise that. I think it was our decision that of all of the sacrifices and losses that young people have suffered as a result of this coronavirus, that we were not going to declare that we were canceling Halloween. However, we're asking that all people in the township exercise care to follow the rules of social distancing and the wearing a mask. Of all of the times of the year that a mask ought to be second handed, Halloween. So anything else that needs to be announced or dealt with? If not, I move that we adjourn.
Second,
Roll call, Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mr. DeLauro.
yes.
Okay, we are adjourned.